I am here. You are here. It is a good day. So I'm getting my little microphone going so you can hear me better. And it's one of the things I really liked about the old Craig Ferguson show. Hang on, I'm going to unplug here so I can plug my microphone in. One of the things I really liked about the Craig Ferguson show was the thing he'd say first thing every day was, "Great day for America, everybody." And we haven't been able to say that for a while. Faith, exactly. Exactly. All right, you need to be moved this way without getting in front of the camera, Mr. Light. There we go. So you will be able to see, so everyone will be able to see the cards a little bit better. And, of course, there's suddenly noise in the background, but we will sort all this out and we will start with the reading. With the readings, because I don't know if you saw, hello, I don't know if you guys saw, but I put the link in twice. We're going to be going over this today, and I'm going to explain to you what I found. Just one perspective. We're gonna talk more about astrology in the future, but this is just. I think you'll find this interesting, and it's free. I put the link in the description as well, the description box. It's over on Patreon, free to the public, so you can see the graphic yourself if you want to go through it a little more closely. All right, that is. Hang on one second. Okay, all right. Alrighty, so yeah, best I could do there. My cocoa just exploded in the microwave. Okay, I am here, and there is a kitty. Let's turn this just a little bit. Can the White? Okay, I understand, Larry. Larry girl, I've seen your question. Can the White House legally prevent the publication of John Bolton's book? And the answer to that is they can try. But good luck with that. Hello, Boo Boo Kitty. He's up here. He's up there. He's all snuggled up in his winter bed. They can try to block Bolton's book. They can try to say, but they're not going to get very far, because unless it's literally giving away national secrets, there's nothing they can do. And they sent it in, and they can say, look, we sent this in. We gave you all the information. So you didn't say anything until suddenly this all comes up, and suddenly you care. So yeah, but they could try, and Trump has a history of that. So I will read on it. So let's see. I will read on. Will the White House try to block Bolton's book? You're not gonna. They're not man enough to go up against Bolton and his mustache Duke. Gets up every morning, combs it. Come on, little doggy. Anyway. All right. Well, we will look at that. However, first. Hello. Why? All right. Keisha Harris. I will as soon as they come up, and you need not worry. But I want to focus on this right now. So I'm going to talk about this, okay? So thank you so much to the Troll Slayers. Thank you so much for protecting us and making this possible. Please do not think I'm being ungrateful, because I am hugely, hugely grateful, okay? So let's discuss this. I wonder if I might actually have to turn this light off, because there's too much glare, because I printed this on the fancy schmancy paper, which has a bit of a gloss to it. Oh, hang on, there, and okay, one more, and come on. Off, there, okay. Can you see that? Okay. Basically, there is a website called Theme, and I've talked about this before. One of my, I've done 2 really big astrology videos, and the first one talked about Theme. And actually, I'm going to write that here so you can see. Astro. Because I'm using their information, so I want to make sure I give them credit. Astrotheme.com. They are apparently French. So there's that, Astrotheme. They are apparently French, but they have this huge database of 50, 60,000 people and events and places and you name it. And they have down on the left-hand side of the left-hand column is an option. You have to go down a bit, but it's there, and it's called the Celestar. Okay, it's called the Celestar, and that's down that left-hand column. Okay, I'll hold this up close so it's as clear as I can get it. All right, so that's where I'm talking about. And if you go to the Celestar, what it is you can pick, buffering. Put it into the, you can pick any 2 names in their database, put it into the Celestar, and it will give you a compatibility rating. And that compatibility rating, I don't always agree, but I do most of the time. It gives you an idea, in the sense that I'm just going to ignore the chat right now, because people are making comments in capital letters, and that usually means that's something that really needs my immediate attention. So I'm just going to ignore the chat for a minute. Okay, over at astrotheme.com, down the left-hand column, they have something called Celestar, and you go down there and you click there, and it means you can go into their database of 50, 60,000 people, places, and events, and you can put one as star 1 and one as star 2, and you get a compatibility rating between the 2. And their criteria is a little different from maybe what I would use or what some other people would use. I mean, every astrologer has kind of their own ideas about compatibility. So, but it's a good ballpark, I find. And I mean, you can also, under star 1, if you make a free account, you can actually put your own information there, and you can find out yourself. I've had a lot of fun. Friends over the years at different times have some movie star or something, and it's like, oh, I'm going to go see what kind of compatibility I have with him, just for the fun of it, just silly stuff. But anyway, but also you can, it shows compatibility not just to like a person, a musician, or an actor, but it's also the United States is in there. Different, the city of Boston is in there. When it was founded, the place is kind of obvious, but the date and the time, And for the chart for the US, there are a couple of different ones. There's a little bit of disagreement as to which one to use, but the one used most often is called the Sibley chart. And I'm going to write that here too. So, and I want to say it's an Ley. Forgive me if it's not. But the Sibley US chart is what I am talking about. Okay, and that is, and what the Sibley chart, because people, it isn't like a lot of modern countries, they came into being at, they're going to, it's like set up and they're going to come into being at noon on this day or at midnight on this day. Well, so there's this big, and this is trying to get the moment, the best moment for, basically he went with the final signatures on the Declaration of Independence. So the Sibley chart is for July 4th, 1776. And I want to say it's at 5:10 p.m., something like that. Okay? So that's the Sibley chart. All right. So you can run compatibility. And I use the Celestar for quick overviews of things. If I want to find out about two people or two, if I want to look at Trump and, a new advisor, I'll go in, put them in, and just get a sense. And then I can look more closely at the actual charts and use my own knowledge and what have you. But it gives you a percentage. It gives you an actual percentage rating of compatibility. And it doesn't just go 0% compatibility to 100% compatibility. It's actually, it can go negative. It can go over 100, but it's a bell curve. And this bell curve right in the middle is 50%. And so let me draw this too. So then you will know what I'm speaking of when I lift up this graphic I made. Okay. It's a bell curve. So when you compare it to two people, the most number of results are going to be kind of here. And so you can get below 0 and you can get over 100%, but it's fewer matches have that. Okay. Anyway, I just wanted to let you know that I think these numbers actually all fall within that 100% range, but it's an interesting thing to play with, and I wanted you to know that if you're ever going to go over there and look at it. All right. So I'm going to, what should I use a piece of paper? Or should I use strangely enough, do I have an orange? Hang on, I think I might have an orange Post-it I could use, because this is the orange and black channel. All right, I'm going to use this. I'm going to use this as my little, so you can follow along. Okay, so what this graphic is talking about, let me see if I can tilt this down any more. Does it go down any more at all? Maybe a little? Okay. All right, now what's going on here is, so I went to Astrotheme and I looked at the compatibility between the United States and her presidents, her historic presidents from old and older age, more modern era presidents, and then some of the presidential candidates and previous candidates. And I figured that let's just have a look, because if we run these people against, for the Astrotheme for compatibility, I mean, if you think about it, isn't running for the president, isn't it a popularity contest? So Actually, I was going to use that, but it's easier to just use a pen. So anyway, what I found, I thought was very interesting, because when it comes to the compatibility, and let me make sure this is at high quality enough that it is, hopefully it's clear enough. And again, this graphic is over, the link is in the description box. This graphic is over on Patreon, in the public. It's there for, you can pull it up and follow along. So don't feel like, oh my gosh, I can't see it or what have you. Why I found this interesting was, if you think about popularity, the popularity of our presidents, look at the compatibility between the U.S. in these modern era presidents. Top of the list, our 32nd president, FDR. Franklin Roosevelt. Second, Ronald Reagan. John F. Kennedy. Barack Obama. And then Richard Nixon actually was wildly popular before it all went very, very wrong. But then you've got some of these other people, and I'm not saying Jimmy Carter, Roosevelt, Bush, Trump, there's Clinton. Clinton was, I thought Clinton was more popular. But I did find it interesting that, got Eisenhower and Truman, but if you had asked me who was popular amongst our, who do you think is the most popular amongst our modern presidents? Well, FDR, Ronald Reagan, John F. Kennedy, Barack Obama. I mean, wouldn't that kind of be who you'd list? So, so I was looking at that, and then I was looking at older historic presidents. It's like, okay, all right. And so it's like, okay, we've got John Quincy Adams, our 6th president, James Madison, our 4th. Hayes, Grover Cleveland was in there twice. He was the 22nd and 24th president. Jefferson comes in at about 65%. Abraham Lincoln, though, was only at about 63%. And which makes me wonder if, now we absolutely revere him, but at the time, yeah, compatible. I understand, Sally, what you're saying about compatible, not popular, but it gives, the presidency is a popularity contest to some extent, and their energy would mesh well with the overall energy. We can get into progressions, we can get into a lot of stuff. And I understand what you're saying, but I just found this interesting that at the time, Lincoln was not very popular at all, considering there was a war going on. So, and then way down here, George Washington, which I also thought was interesting, because, I mean, maybe I'm just not well read enough. Maybe I'm just thick. Who knows? But as much as we revere George Washington, and we do, I can't think of a George Washington quote off the top of my head. But if you ask me, what's an Abraham Lincoln quote off the top of your head? 7 years ago. There are some of these others, maybe something comes to mind, but as Washington, as great as he is, he was such a great general, and he was so great to in the country, and in protecting the country, creating the country. That he was, our first president. He did all the firsts, and we revere him for that. But and I'll talk about this here shortly because this has to do with Sienna as well, over at Sienna Rose, her channel, because wow, I'm halfway through a really, really good video, mediumship reading she did of White House ghosts. But anyway, for modern era presidents, do you feel comfortable? Does the country overall feel comfortable with these people, or did they at the time? And I just found it very interesting that George Washington was down here. Abraham Lincoln was just above them, 63%. So he wasn't at 50, he was above that. But there was a civil war going on, so that makes sense. And just these four here, the compatibility, their charts, compatibility rating with the United States of America, using the Sibley chart, that these showed up this high. All right, so I wanted to look at a few of the presidential candidates. And so what I got Warren came in at almost 72%. And Buttigieg was at about 63. Joe Biden was right near the middle, 48.5. Bernie Sanders, 28.75. And I've graded this out. I don't even know if you can see it, but this one here is Kamala Harris. She came in at 61%, and this is Beto O'Rourke, who came in at 41.5%. And I had just put them in there, just trying different things. Someone who made it quite far and dropped out, someone who did not make it that far and dropped out, or as far. So as far as what AstroTheme is talking about with compatibility, which means the more you get to know this person, the more you're going to say, yeah, I want to have a beer with that person. Yeah, I like that person. I'm going to vote for that person. Because you get to know these candidates to some extent, or what you think, or, back in the, late 1700s, you'd say, well, if you were voting, you didn't know who these people were. But then again, for a lot of them, you weren't voting for them anyway. Because we had the Electoral College, because we had, I want to say early on, senators weren't directly voted into office either, but I would have to look that up. And Nixon was evil. No. I just glanced at the comments. Nixon was evil. He was awful. But he was reelected in a landslide. So compatibility does not mean healthy, does not mean good. It does not mean, because trust me, you can have the most wonderfully compatible energy, astrological energy, with someone who is going to who's just a rotten human being, and they are using their power for evil. So I just found, and then for previous candidates, I thought this might be interesting. Bob Dole was quite popular at 72, and Bob Dole went up against Clinton, who was only at 59. So, okay, does that prove it, or does that disprove? No, don't know. John McCain was at 50%. Hillary Clinton was at 47.33. Donald Trump was at 61.4. George W. was only at 57.7, but Al Gore was at 35.8. So anyway, I just wanted, autumn doesn't also depend on one's own chart too. I understand you asking that, but what I'm looking at is the overall. And there's been some talk lately, because people who are talking on the Senate have talked about the United States and said she. Our great nation, she. We are a collective. We, as Americans, we are a collective energy. We are an evolving energetic form. And on the spirit side, an energetic form was, that's all anything is. Anyone is. Someone just said Bob Dole was boring. he wasn't a great candidate, but he actually, I will stand up for this. I want to say that he was a war hero, wasn't he? So fell asleep and just woke up. Someone else says it's like, yeah, okay. Hopefully, it's like, oh, someone fell asleep at the beginning of me talking about this astrology thing. I just woke up because I'm nearly done with my graphic. So, but I'm not saying that this is perfect, but I just thought this was very interesting, and I'm also not saying that Astro Themes compatibility ratings are the be all and end all, because, but if you definitely, if you are ever on a dating app with people who, famous people who are on that site, and you're looking at two different guys, and one you've got a compatibility rating of 100%, and the other you've got a compatibility rating of -4. Do not go out with the -4 guy. If you just go for the one. So go for the higher number, but generally speaking. So I just wanted to, I thought you might find this interesting. There are lots of caveats involved, and there are always individual viewpoints on these people and on whether they should be president, should have been president, whether they were good or not. But for the overall collective energy thought form, form of the United States, using the Sibley chart and using Astro Theme to get a ballpark sense of compatibility with U.S. presidents, past, really past, and possibly future. I just thought you might find this interesting too. So I made up a nice little graphic, and it is available for free on my Patreon, put to the public, and you can do with that what you wish. Okay. So, all right. Thus endeth that presentation. Now, talking about George Washington, Sienna, I'm halfway through. It's a shame she's not here, because I probably just, completely sidetracked the reading anyway, because I would just be fangirling all over Sienna right now, because her video she put out about, she's gone back to talk to White House ghosts again. It fascinates me. I did a two-part reading quite a while back about ghosts in the White House. Excuse me. And what I was getting was, it was really interesting, because it's like I was also getting, it's like, yeah, I wanted to, I said something about Lincoln, and it's like, I can't feel his energy. And then I realized that it's almost like there was a cornerstone of some nature. It was like, it looked like a big heavy cornerstone of one of those buildings that's been there for a long time in Washington, D.C. And it's almost like it became kind of, slightly immaterial. And it's almost like he walked out of it, and he said, "No, I'm here. No, I'm here." It's that his energy has become foundational. And going back and reading on the original signers of the Declaration of Independence, and the ones who went on in public life, who we know their names, and on the other side, they're working for the country still. It's like they've melded their energies together, is what I got. And you can talk to them individually. Of course, they can come and go, but it's like they've melded their energy on the other side to try to keep the United States alive, and to maybe even, go toward the ideals. And of course, we could talk about all the things they did, the rotten things they did as human beings. And but I get the sense that they would be the first ones now that they're on the other side, now that they can see they have the bigger picture. It does. They can. They want to fight for the ideals, the ideals of freedom and equality, and the specifics don't matter as much as the ideals, because also those ideals, evolve over time to include more. Equality evolves to include more, as it should. So, but it was so fascinating to me when Sienna was reading on the currently the presidents, and George Washington came across as being very taciturn and very no laughing, this is no laughing matter kind of thing. And that's exactly the energy I get from him. He was in a lot of pain, is what I get. But he also, he was a rock. Unfortunately, he was just as frustrating if you've dealt with someone like that. And it makes me, I don't know if I've ever gone and looked at George Washington's chart, but his energy is incredibly strong and taciturn, and he is the, I'm wondering if he's, I wonder if there was some Capricorn and Taurus and things like that, the grounding, the practical, and he was a general, so Capricorn, he would have tried to work his way. I don't know. I'll have to go look. America's on life support. Actually, just this once, I'm going to disagree with you. I'm going to very respectfully disagree and give my opinion, because that's your opinion. That is valid. My opinion is America's not on life support, because we are here talking, and we can freely say what we want. And when Donald Trump came into office, I spent the night before the inauguration, I was up at like midnight still. I ended up like cleaning my spice rack, because I just had all this nervous energy. And I had an argument with someone who was in my life at that point, about what we might have to do, because there was all kinds of talk about having a Muslim registration list, the way they did to the Jews in the 30s, and I won't tell that story again in detail, but it was very frightening. We didn't know, and I think that's the one thing we have got to go on and make sure that we tell the people that came after us. The White House, from Jake Tapper, the White House has issued a formal threat to former National Security Advisor John Bolton to keep him from publishing his book. Well, good luck with that. They're going to slow it down. They won't be able to stop it. Thank you for sharing that. And it's going to sell a whole lot more copies now, because if there's one way to sell copies in the free world, it's for the government to come in and say you can't. So, but I was talking about, I think we have to tell the generations that come after us about it, in talking about this era. We also need to talk about how frightened we were, and as awful as this has been, and it has been awful. I was expecting worse. I wasn't entirely convinced that I was going. It just sounds horribly melodramatic, but I wasn't at 100% feelings of certainty that I would live through this. because there was, other people are saying they were terrified. Because, there comes a point where you have to make the hardest choices. And if Trump had had his way, it could have been. But I will say that when they were talking about the possibility of Muslims having to register, I said, well, if that happens, then I'm going to register. And the person I was with at the time said, don't do that, you're going to get killed. And I said, no, and maybe I will. But I'm going to do what every person in 1930s Germany should have done. It's like, okay, Muslims have to register, then we all register. And I want to say in Denmark, they did. I could be wrong, but it was one of those smaller North European countries that, it was the king or someone, or I can't remember exactly what else, but I'm sorry, I don't have the history clear in my head, but they did, and it's wearing the yellow Star of David, and the other things that, if you were homosexual, you had to wear a patch, a particular patch. If you were a communist, you had to wear a particular patch, and it's like, then that's what I'm going to do. And certainly at the time, I had some health issues that without my medication, and certainly if they just cut off my medication, period, certainly, but I wouldn't, if someone put me in a camp and I had no access to medication back then, that would have been it. That would have been the end of me. And that's scary. And that makes me a little emotional here. But I would have done it. Christian the 10th of Denmark wore the yellow star, exactly. So we were scared. We were very, very scared. But you do what you need to do. And I know I wouldn't have been alone. As scary as it would have been, I know I wouldn't have been alone. So, boy, it's been a very emotional week. all kind of stuff has come up. SAS 78 was saying his father saw Bergen-Belsen. Wouldn't talk about what he saw and had nightmares for the rest of his life. Exactly. Nancy, I would have joined with you. Yep. Nazis murdered the disabled for. Yep. So this is kind of what we were afraid of. I was expecting it to be worse than it is. But I would have fought for the ideals of America, and I think most of you are here because you would have too. We're contacting our representatives and we're doing the right things, but we believe in this thought form. We believe in this experiment in democracy, and there is no selfish, drug-laden, cardinal sin, prototype for every single one of them that can be in the White House of the United States. Who's going to stop that? And it doesn't matter how much he lies, and it doesn't matter how awful he gets, and it doesn't matter how many people protect him. There will come a time when we're done here. He's done here. The U.S. will prevail. So anyway, I just wanted to say that. And also George Washington, he was a great man. He was the definition of a great man, in the sense of being the general he was, what he did during the Revolution, what he did as a first president. I'm not saying he was a perfect person. No. And let's just say he doesn't feel like he has a whole lot of sense of humor, but he kept the revolutionaries going. And bless him. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for your service to this country. Yep, Washington's heart was pure patriotism. Yep. So, but if you want a president who's more fun at parties, then, well, you've got Kennedy right there. But anyway, so that is what I got. And so as far as what this says, oh my gosh, I just got chocolate all over my hands. What this says, though, also about the presidential candidates coming up, don't know. But I also wanted to point that out, that as far as compatibility with the original Sibley chart, with the basis of the America that we know, that we're, suffering through the Pluto return now, and Pluto opposite Mercury, which is what's giving a lot of the belligerent stuff that's happening. Because Pluto's about power, and it's an opposition in astrology is a seesaw. Pluto's a plow. It just digs up all kind of stuff. So it's heavy. And then we're coming up to our Pluto return, which is something that luckily no human being has ever gone through, which I consider to be a good thing, because you'd have to live for at least 248 years for that to happen. Okay, so that is that, and you can continue to look at that at your leisure, and you have the information thank you so much. Is it Lords or Lourdes? Please let me know, because I would like to give your name properly, so thank you. So we have the answer to the question, will the White House try to block Bolton's book? They can try, and I guess they're trying. And let me see here. I'm just having a quick look at the comments to see if there's something specific I can pull out the cards and read on. Actually, I know what I want to read on. Because I want to keep with this theme, and I'll just use, actually, I'm not going to use this deck. I've taken to sometimes cards I've used and I've been reading on Trump or whatever, I literally just leave them like overnight, just like on top of the salt bowl. But let me put this back and get my regular Rider-Waite deck, because to finish out, or at least finish this part before I do anything about Trump, which I may have to come back tomorrow and do, but I will. I want to read on her, the United States of America. I think it would be fitting to read on our country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. We're not perfect by any stretch. Never said we were. But we have ideals, and we fight for them. And Yeah. Interview with, holy cow, interview with Ari Melber. Oh well. All right, I want to read I'm just going to read here on the United States of America. Oh, it's definitely, if it has a gender, it doesn't. But it's definitely, if it has a gender, there's no question. It's feminine. My grandmother was actually born on the 4th of July, which I always thought was very sweet. And she was a cupcake. She was just the sweetest human being. And my moon is where her sun was. So, well, I better turn this light back on. We're going through the ringer right now, that's for certain. Oh, hang on. There we go. We're definitely going through the ringer right now. But this is Trump. This isn't the country. This is Trump. He's going down. Not literally. Oh, someone just said something nice about my grandmother, so you're golden. If anybody else has anything nice to say about my grandmother, I'm totally down for that. I miss her. Anyway, in the past, we are done with the king. We're not having a king. We're going back to the beginning. This is, I know there are people all over the world and who they laugh. We call things old that they, would barely call, slightly dusty. But, we were going to fight the king. We're going to fight, we saw his tyranny. In the center of the reading, it was a new land, new ideas, something new, and also, holding the lamp of the potential of holding the lamp of liberty. So, I mean, there is no, this is the closest thing you get in the deck to the Statue of Liberty, which I'm sure you know was a gift from France. Thank you, Gloria. Thank you. France, for all the garbage we give France, they have helped us a lot. Base of the reading, there's the militaristic side because America's sun is in Cancer, and Cancer is the big mom of the zodiac. And who in the universe, in the whole wide world, do you know not to make mad? Mothers. You know not to hurt their children. And there has always been even though we were rural for a long time and we didn't want to get involved in world politics, there's just this nature. And of the countries of the world, who would have a gargantuan military, it makes sense to me it would be a Cancer nation, because, Mama Bear. And also a prosperity, and I'm being drawn actually to the land, just incredibly, just vast stretches of land people could live on, and also the horrors that came with that. And I'm hearing screaming in my head, so yeah, I acknowledge the horrors. This is not a rah, we're perfect. This is we have made mistakes, but also we love our country. So A Cancer. Very nice, very nice. Above the reading, people are. I mean, the Ace of Cups. This is, you could even say this is the most emotional card in the deck to some extent. Emotion overflowing. It can be the start of emotion, but it's emotion overflowing, and that's, you know, we're kind of famous for that. Yeah, this is kind of Americans, where we have a huge military. To the outside, some countries see us as too focused on money, and we are very emotional people on the whole. But again, I'm talking about a collective energy. Okay, so, and it's complicated. This is distilling all of 200 and we're getting up near 250 years. In 2026. Yeah, in 6 years, it's going to be America's 250th. All right, near future. That's the change of the presidency. That's the. This just feels like Democrats. This just feels like Republicans or people who weren't paying attention, who look up and they're like, "What? Home environment." We can be materialistic. I'll admit that. Hopes and fears. Right now, this is also our national debt, which is awful. And inflation and all kind of our money issues. But anyway, hopes and fears. Literally, this is the argument, and it's the argument they've had since the beginning about the power of the federal government versus state government versus no government. Power in the executive, power in the co-equal branches of government, you know, on and on and on. What other people see? Well, we're still a beacon to some, but also this is how this is the card I get for how Trump sees himself. So if we're going to make this a little more Trump focused, it's his delusion about himself, his fantasy that he lives in. But also, this is also just a nice energy of being that shining city on the hill kind of thing. And trust me, I don't quote Reagan just because, you know, I was such a fan of his policies. Final outcome, we have hard decisions to make, but it's going to be okay. And what if I said for a year and a half to you guys? It's going to be okay. It really is. We have some hard decisions, but there's a victory card and they're levers. It's going to be okay. But hard decisions are part of life. So that is the reading on America. Okie dokie. So anyway, anything else before I go? Every day of this presidency is a nightmare. Oh, yeah. I've got the gray hair to prove it, and I know I'm not alone in that. What does Lev have for us? He's searching his archive. He's been desperately searching for anything because he really does want to help, but he's turned everything over. And the last time I read on him, it was that he doesn't have much else. That isn't also somewhere else. The coronavirus is going to peter out. I read on that within the last week, I think. Rise and fall as America's king are years long on the cusp of America's Pluto return. Will Bolton ever testify? I read on that yesterday, and I got that yes. But he doesn't like it. He wants to stick it to Trump, but at the same time, he's horrified that he's being called, that he's working with the Democrats. He's helping the Democrats. That just galls him. Sienna Rose reading Washington assured all that the bad guys will be removed. Excellent, excellent. Like I said, I'm halfway through, and it's really good. Trump is planning to visit India in March. Poor India. Can we apologize now? India, on behalf of the American people, I would like to apologize for our leaders' brutish, boorish behavior. Will Bolton be effective? That's a good question, Elizabeth. Will a Bolton be effective? There you go. Let me just jot that down. Will Bolton be effective? Will he be a witness? Because I'll ask again, is he going to be a witness? Will he be effective? I don't know if you guys can hear it, but Bailey Boo is snoring. It's adorable. He's so good. He's so good. Well, Bolton, he's freaking out. That's what I'm getting. He's not happy, and his publisher is licking. I'm seeing a publisher licking their lips, licking their chops. Oh, this is going to be so much. This is going to be great. We're going to sell so many copies. We're going to save the public, because the publishing houses are struggling in it mightily. So that's not a hit. I am a Republican. He also wants to come forward and say, I am a Republican. It's not just what he wants to say against Trump. It's, oh, Fox News, you will not say I'm a Democrat. Whew, he's mad. In the past, he had to deal with Trump's lies and obfuscations and confusion, and it also feels like Trump would lose the thread of what was going on as well as just lying. And sometimes he'd lie just because he'd lost the thread and he didn't want to admit weakness. Center the reading. Well, that's usually what comes up for investigations. Sort of truth, right there. Base of the reading. Base of the reading is tick-tock Trumpy. Tick, tick, tick. Above the reading, being defensive, because someone he did not leak that book, by the way, is the energy I'm getting, for what it's worth. But it was brought out, and now he's in a very defensive. He's having to be very defensive. Near future. Oh. Boom! Boom goes the dynamite. Ace of Cups, overflowing emotion right in front of the Chief Justice of the United States of America. Home environment. Yeah, this is a card of publication. It can be messages, but it's also, if you've just published a book. Ding. Hopes and fears. Do not call me a Democrat. Do not. And it's like a serious insult. How dare you? How dare you call me a Democrat? Dude. Decaf is just as tasty. what other people see. Well, it's like, okay, look, John, or well, let's include Duke in here too. John and the mustache, Duke. Listen, John and Duke, we know you're not a Democrat. We know you're insulting. That insults you, but you just happen to be helping our cause, so we're not going to spit on the ground when we say your name for a little while, and that's nice, isn't it? That's a good thing. So you're not a Democrat, but maybe we won't hate you for a little while, and that's always a good thing, isn't it? And it says something. We've reached the point where John warmonger Bolton, dealing with him is an improvement from dealing with Trump people. Because the thing about Bolton, as awful as he doesn't lie. He is what he is. And so it's like, okay, oh, final outcome. I'm getting this again. He is key to hurting Trump. But I am getting this again. He makes a ton of money, but he loses a lot of it, and I don't know why. I just get it flows in, and then a bunch of it flows back out, and I got that yesterday too, very strongly. And that's not something I would, just make up, or it's just it's a very strong feeling. But forget his financial situation. Near future, the first card of the final outcome. Let us bask. Let us bask in the schadenfreude of this moment. Enjoyment of someone else's suffering. If that suffering is Donald J. Trump, because it isn't even suffering. It's just justice. It's just balance. It's just what he has put out coming back to him. Because that's all we want. It's all we want. So, yeah. And on that note, I'm going to leave it on that happy note. She said holding the death card. Good grief. It's not literal death, or I would not be saying I'm happy about it. The Black and Orange channel is very anti-violence. Very anti-violence. All right, so thank you so much for everything. And I'm very grateful for you. I hope that was helpful to you. I hope I was able to do you some good today. All right. And I will be back tomorrow, same pumpkin time, same pumpkin channel, and we'll talk then. All right. Have a great day. It's super fun being with you guys. Thank you. And thank you so much to our troll slayers. Larry Girl, Kathy W. Actually, I'm getting to the point where we have so many now that the list is just getting longer and longer. So I'm just going to say thank you. Thank you. All right. All right. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Okay. I'm going to go turn on the news.